Hello and welcome to another episode of Bands You've Never Heard Of. This episode is not like the others. I'm calling this one the S.O.B, or the State of Bynhopod. Kind of like a State of the Union address. How is the show doing? How are we surviving? It has been almost a year since we dropped our first episode of Bands You've Never Heard Of. That happened on April 30th, 2025. I'm recording this on March 10th, 2026. So it's almost a full year. And, well, I just want to give you an update on how the show is doing and what we have planned for the near future. We've got some great stuff coming up in the next month or so. We don't record these super far in advance. They're very topical as we can make them, really. Sometimes they are recorded and published the same week, but not always. Sometimes we are 3 or 4 weeks out, ahead of the game, if you will. And at the moment, I'm not super ahead of the game. I have a band interview lined up for this coming Friday night, and I've got some really fun episodes, two of them already recorded, and I've got some other fun stuff. So, for example, coming up very soon, an episode featuring Guy Collins. He is a blues guitarist from... Oh, and he's also a songwriter. To call him a blues guitarist is to seriously undersell what this guy is putting out there. He's so much more than that. He hails from South Africa originally, but currently, and for the last 8 or 9 years, has lived in Norway. And if you're wondering why a person would move from South Africa to Norway, well, so were we. And we asked him that. And if you listen to that show, you'll find out exactly why he did that. We also have an interview coming up this Friday with a band, and this episode will be out in a few weeks, but the band is called Uncle Ben's Remedy, and they are an upcoming Americana roots rock band out of Upstate New York. I have been rocking their music solid for the last week or so. And I just love their energy, and they are a lot of fun. Very excited to introduce Gary to that band, as well as to interview them. I have questions. We also have an episode we have already recorded, and we are kind of holding on to this one to release it at just the right time. Remember the band Bad Mother Nature? They were on the show last year, 2025. They are back, because they have a new 4-song EP coming out in the near future, and they thought of us. They thought, hey, let's call JR and Gary, the bands you've never heard of, guys, and give them an exclusive to play all 4 songs from the EP before all 4 songs are released. They're going to put a single out, and then the other 3 songs will come out later than that. And in between the single coming out and the other 3 songs dropping on all of the streaming platforms, Bands You've Never Heard Of will be the only place you can hear those other 3 songs in their entirety. That's going to happen here in just a few weeks. So stay tuned. When you see the new Bad Mother Nature episode come out, listen to it to be able to hear songs before anybody else. I've heard the songs. We've interviewed the band. There is so much there to talk about, including, I'm not even going to give it away. You got to listen to find out what is going on with Bad Mother Nature. We are also going to do an entire episode where Gary and I will take a listen to a bunch of the new songs that have been released by bands featured on this show, but the songs have come out since they were on the show. So new music from the Bynhos, the bands you've never heard of. And I know of at least 4 of those bands that put out songs in the recent past. Boy Bandicoot, Hassan and the Unseen, Howdy, and The Reckless all have music that if you're not following those bands, you haven't heard yet. And they are great. We're also going to do another show where Gary and I take a look through the official Bands You've Never Heard Of playlist and we will choose our top 10 songs. Now, Gary's going to choose his top 10. I'm going to choose my top 10, and we'll go through them on that show. We'll listen to little bits of each song just to remind everybody what they sound like and to highlight some of the best songs coming out of the best bands you've never heard of. So there's lots of great stuff happening in the near future on this podcast. Lots of reasons to keep listening, keep subscribing and thumbs upping and rating and liking and all following and all the things you can do. More on that here in a minute. If you're wondering how Bands You've Never Heard Of is doing as a podcast, well, that's all relative, right? It's hard to really say. We don't have humongous numbers. Our listenership is not in the thousands and thousands or millions, not anywhere near that. But we've got some numbers that I can be pretty proud of. We post this show. It's a video podcast, and it's video on Spotify and YouTube. And on YouTube is where we're getting the most traction, by far. For the lifetime of this show, over 5,000 views of our episodes and our shorts on YouTube. Inside the Trojan Horse was by far the single most watched full episode of this show at over 2,400 views, which in the terms of YouTube video views, that's a really, really small number. In relation to every other episode of this show, that number is completely out of whack with how many people have viewed every other show, every other episode of this show. So we, massive appreciation for Inside the Trojan Horse and the fact that they are exposing this show to more people than any of these other bands. The next most popular videos of ours are the shorts that we have done simply to promote the show, to promote certain episodes of the show, things like that. So I am taking from that we need to do more shorts. Those get more attention. YouTube promotes them more and more people see them. And so we need to do more shorts, which will probably start to feature clips from these shows and teaser episodes, things like that. So let's fill it out. The top 5 full episodes, so not including shorts. Inside the Trojan Horse, clearly at number 1. The Anti-Groupies, the all-girl group from L.A., making some pretty kick-ass pop, punk, rock. The Anti-Groupies kicking ass at number 2. White Noise, the Scottish traditional folk band doing traditional tunes as well as a bunch of originals like Long for Glencoe. White Noise, I met them at the Fringe Festival and got some live footage of them busking on the Royal Mile. And I think it's probably because of their tie-in with Fringe that they are the 3rd most watched full episode on YouTube. Room for Zero, it makes sense that theirs would also be in the top 5. That was our first full episode of Bands You've Never Heard Of all the way back in April of 2025. So it's had the most time to get itself on this list. And rounding out the top 5, The Reckless, which was unique because they are a band whose management reached out to us. That's the first time that's ever happened. And we were super happy to interview them. We had a great interview, too, because they were on like a whole press day doing interview after interview, and we were one of many, and we were later in their day. And they told us that they enjoyed our interview more than any of the others. We asked questions that they had not been asked anywhere else and had a much more rewarding interview with us than with anybody else. So we take that as we're very proud of that. We like doing that. And I want to give an honorable mention here. They're not in the top 5 yet, but the most recent episode of this show, as I sit here recording this, features Blackbeard's Tea Party out of England, and they are climbing the ladder quickly. They're already at number 6, and the episode has only been out for 1 week. So big thank you to Laura and Stuart and the rest of the folks in Blackbeard's Tea Party for being on the show and doing one hell of a job of promoting the fact that they were on this show. We ask every band to do that, and some do it better than others, and they kind of kicked ass for us, which not only benefits our publicity, our profile, but it helps all the other bands that are featured on this show as well. Now, let's take a look at all of the other platforms where podcasts are available. This show is a video podcast on Spotify, but it's also available as audio only. And audio only anywhere else you get your podcasts. We are going to try to take advantage of Apple bringing video to their podcast. I don't know what that's going to entail as far as what it will take to get an episode in video on their show. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But significantly fewer people are discovering bands you've never heard of on podcast platforms that are not YouTube. So we have over 5,000 views on YouTube on all podcast platforms combined lifetime. So since April 30th, 2025, we're about to crack 500 views or listens. And that kind of bums me out to see that number. It's a tenth of what we see on YouTube. And this is a podcast. So why aren't podcasters or people that listen to podcasts listening to this one? I would love to know the answer to that. If you have thoughts on that, please let me know. However, we do have a top five. So the top 5 listens or views on all podcast platforms combined. The number 1 episode is no surprise to me personally. I love this band, Banana Gun, out of Phoenix, Arizona. They are number 1, whether you're looking at just Spotify or all podcast platforms, they are number 1. White Noise, right up in there at number 2. So performing well regardless of whether you watch it or listen to it. Room for Zero, same. They are also in the top 5. And again, though, they've had the benefit of their episode's been out the longest. Bad Mother Nature in at number 4. The band that will be back in the very near future with more new music and an entire second interview where we cover different and new stuff that we did not talk about in the first interview. And rounding out the top 5, Ramona and the Holy Smokes. Ramona is a local to Charlottesville Latino country or Latina country band, and we got to interview Ramona live in a studio. It was the first time we interviewed any of our bands live. And that was a fantastic episode as well. So that's the top 5. We are planning to keep this whole thing going. The bands themselves, that's where we get the most fulfilling feedback. They love the concept. They love us, what we do in part 1 of each episode, where I introduce Gary to the bands. They love the interviews. They love the questions we ask them. And they love the publicity that we're trying to give them. They love being treated like rock stars, despite the fact that they're not quite rock stars yet. We will continue looking for these hidden gems, these bands that are fantastic but have yet to break into the mainstream. We will continue introducing you to great music, and we don't care what genre it is. We might tend to lean towards rock and roll most because that's what's nearest and dearest to our hearts. But clearly, we will feature very country bands, very blues, soulful stuff, R&B. I don't know, jazz. I mean, it could all happen. Here's what it takes to get on the show. Don't be famous yet. Have fewer than 100,000 plays of all of your songs on Spotify and YouTube, and make great music. And that doesn't have to be any particular genre. I will freely admit, though, that rock and roll probably has the advantage. We will keep asking these bands smarter questions every time we interview them. We will continue to ask you to help us spread the word. If you find a new band that you really like on our show, if you discover a new band like Bad Mother Nature, Banana Gun, the Anti-Groupies, Ramona, whoever it might be, and you become a fan of that band, Tell them you heard it on our podcast. Tell your friends about that band. Tell your friends about how they can learn more about that band on this podcast. And in addition to all of that, I know it's a big ask, listen to the whole show. It really makes a huge difference, especially on YouTube, when you listen to the entire show or watch the entire show. It really helps us in the algorithm because they know that these episodes will keep people listening and watching for longer. Once you, at some point while you're watching or listening to the show, rate us, thumbs up us, like us, whatever the platform is that you are consuming this show on. Rate us, like us, thumbs up, whatever it can do. Subscribe to the show, especially on YouTube. The more subscribers, the better chance we have of getting, up in the algorithm. Or if it's a podcast player for you, follow the show, so that they understand that there are people that are looking forward to the next episode of the show. Tell somebody, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your siblings, your kids, your mom, your dad, anybody and everybody. Tell them about our show, about these bands, about the Bands You've Never Heard Of official playlist, where there's a ton of great music from people you've never heard of before. Tell them about the bands, tell them about our show. So there you go. The State of Bynho, or S.O.B. This is the first of what I hope to be annual S.O.B. shows. Thank you so much for listening to any episode you have watched or listened to already, for sticking with me to the end of this little episode. We will be back next week with Guy Collins and that entire episode, and very soon, Bad Mother Nature will be back on. Uncle Ben's Remedy coming at you soon, and more. And if you have a band you want us to feature on the show, hit us up. Bynhopod@gmail.com. Check out the website, bynhopod.com. We have a separate page for each band with links to all of their socials and websites and YouTubes and all of that. So it's a pretty great resource for information on this show and all of the bands featured on this show. And thank you again for listening to Bands You've Never Heard Of. I'm JR. On behalf of Gary, thank you. Peace out, everybody.
Bands you've